Now, one possibility is if you found yourself very interested in studying speech communication, you might nevertheless feel that God was calling you into the ministry. And to be very frank, if you came to me and told me that, my first recommendation would be that you either major in BTH, Bible and Theology, or in Christian Ministry, which are two separate majors here at Northwest Christian. Now, our Bible and Theology faculty are top-notch, absolutely world-class, Dr. Crow and Dr. Heine. And as far as the advisor of our Christian Ministry program, Dr. O'Casey, you will never meet a more energetic and fiery educator than him. But there are a few people, occasionally someone comes along who feels very, very strongly that they are being called into ministry, but that God has also arranged their steps to where they need to be very effective communicators, and that's what they're called to study. I had one major a few years back who knew that what God had in store for her was that she was going to be involved in wilderness ministry, and she was going to take people out on hiking and camping trips where she would have the opportunity to share the gospel with them. And in her prayer time with God, it became very clear to her that what she needed to study was communication. And she was actually, very frightened of public speaking and a little bit introverted in interpersonal settings, but nevertheless, loud and clear, she got the word from God that that's what she was to do, so she followed that path. If you were to come to me and say that that was what was in store for you, and here I'll drop in just very quickly, I have another major right now who is planning on, what he's planning on doing is finishing up his speech communication major and then going on to George Fox Seminary, and he's going to become a military chaplain. He's already been in the military, he's also been in law enforcement, and he says it's just very, very plain to him that that's the way that God's leading him. So if you came to me and you said that speech communication was the way for you, but you also felt sure that you were going to be led to go on to seminary, here's what I would recommend. I would first of all recommend that we put you into the generalist track, which means that you would be studying both public speaking and interpersonal communication. Very especially if you felt called to be a pastor, it would be important that you have very, very strong public speaking skills. So we would want to make sure that you had Intro to Public Speaking, Advanced Public Speaking, and also Dr. O'Casey's preaching class, where you would be put together with an area pastor who would mentor you through the weekly process or the long-term process of preparing sermons and series of sermons. But just about any ministry position you could find yourself in, you would find yourself talking to the congregation from time to time, so very, very strong public speaking skills would be important. I would probably encourage you to take at least a couple of semesters and try out forensics competition, speech and debate competition, just because that can be so very good in building up your abilities to connect with an audience, in getting very incisive feedback to draw your attention to your weaknesses and help you overcome them. But we would also put you in the interpersonal communication track because relating to smaller groups or individuals, being able to share the gospel, being able to disciple people, being able to resolve conflict, being a really effective listener, being able to gauge nonverbals and know your limitations as far as being able to detect deception. Those are all very, very important tools for someone to have in their toolbox if they are going to be called into the ministry. I think that it would also be very important that you minor either in Bible and theology or in Christian ministry. And I think that, as with a lot of these other professional tracks that you might get called into, it would be important that you not just do the one internship at the end of your time, which is a requirement for every student in every major to graduate, but that you do internships over and over again, that over every summer, if possible, and sometimes during the school year, if we can make the scheduling work out, that you go and work in ministry positions and all along be drawing the connections between what you're learning in your classes and how that is useful in the field that you find yourself in. If you found yourself called into missions work, then it would be very important that you take the intercultural communication class, which all communication majors take intercultural communication. But we would also look for possibilities for you to take an advanced intercultural communication class, either as an independent study with me, or if we had several people interested in related fields at once, we might do advanced intercultural communication as a special topics class. So, keeping in mind that if it seems plain to you that a certain career is where you need to wind up, but speech communication just seems to be pulling you, it's the kind of thing that motivates you and you're curious and you're hungry to know more about it, once again, even if it's God calling you into ministry, that's the kind of thing that other people have done before, and it's the kind of thing that's certainly an option for you.